The fork trembled in Richard Hale's hand as darkness crept further across his vision. 12 months. That's how long the world had been dissolving into gray shadows and blurred silhouettes. And not a single doctor could explain why. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. People all over the world need to hear this story. Richard was worth $400 million. He had paid for the finest specialists in 3 countries. Every result came back the same. Idiopathic vision loss. Untreatable. Progressive. He had accepted his fate. Then one Tuesday morning, Rosa, his housemaid's 9-year-old daughter, tugged at his sleeve while Vanessa was out shopping. Her voice was barely a whisper, but every word detonated like a grenade inside his chest. "Mr. Richard, you're not really blind. It's your wife. She puts something in your food every single day." Richard's blood turned to ice. He didn't scream. He didn't confront Vanessa. Richard Hale became the most dangerous thing a man can become, a millionaire pretending to be helpless. He hired a private forensic analyst under complete secrecy. He stopped eating anything Vanessa prepared, faking every meal, every sip. Within 3 weeks, his vision began returning. The analyst's report arrived on a Thursday. Thallium, a tasteless, odorless, heavy metal compound, dripped systematically into his evening meals for over a year. Someone had planned this meticulously. This was no impulse. Then came the devastating discovery. Hidden camera footage, installed by his own analyst, showed Vanessa on a late-night phone call laughing, uttering words Richard would never forget. "By the time the lawyers act, he won't be able to identify anything. We'll have everything." The man on the other end of that call, Richard's most trusted business partner. He had been surrounded by wolves and mistaken them for family. Richard sent one invitation, a private dinner. "My love, I want one last beautiful evening together. Just us." Vanessa arrived in red, confident, unsuspecting. The candles were lit, the wine was poured, and Richard, appearing fragile, tapping his cane, sat across from the woman who had been murdering him slowly over 12 months. She reached into her clutch. A small vial. Her fingers moved toward his glass. "Go ahead," Richard said quietly, without moving. "I've been watching you do it for 3 weeks." Vanessa froze. The lights came up. 2 forensic investigators stepped from the adjoining room. Every motion in that dining space had been recorded in high definition. The vial in her hand, enough thallium for a lethal dose, was captured clearly on 4 separate cameras. Vanessa's composure shattered. "You were never blind," she whispered. "No," Richard replied, his voice ice cold. "But I was foolish enough to trust you. That ends tonight." Within the hour, the room filled with authorities. Richard had briefed them 2 days prior. Every detail documented, every piece of forensic evidence cataloged and legally airtight. Vanessa was handcuffed where she sat, still in red, mascara fractured, the vial sealed inside an evidence bag beside her untouched wine glass. Her accomplice, Richard's business partner, Daniel Mercer, attempted to board a private flight out of the country that same night. He was intercepted at the airport. His phone, seized immediately, contained months of correspondence mapping out the entire scheme. The poisoning, the asset transfer strategy, the planned legal incapacitation. Richard's legal team moved swiftly. Accounts were frozen, documents were protected, and slowly, with proper medical treatment now finally possible, Richard's vision continued returning. First shapes, then color, then faces. The last face he'd seen clearly before the poisoning began was Vanessa's. The first face he saw clearly as his sight was restored was Rosa's. Richard Hale stood at the window of his estate 6 months later, seeing it fully for the first time in over a year. The gardens, the oak trees, the morning light. And he had rebuilt his legal team, restructured his company, and quietly, without press or announcement, he had done one more thing. He had offered Rosa's mother a permanent, salaried position managing his household, and enrolled Rosa in the finest school in the city, with a full educational trust in her name. A 9-year-old girl with nothing to gain had risked everything to tell him the truth, while people with everything had conspired to destroy him. The lesson is this: loyalty doesn't live in boardrooms or wedding rings. It lives in people who have nothing to offer you except honesty. If this story moved you, subscribe, because every week we bring you stories that remind you who in your life is truly worth trusting. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today.